If you ever stood outside a record store in the 1980s, you could feel it before you even opened the door. The bass would be thumping through the glass. Posters would be taped across the windows. New album covers would be facing outward like bright invitations. You could not stream a song. You could not search a title online. If you wanted music, you had to go inside. And once you stepped in, you entered a world that felt alive. Stay with this story because by the end, you will understand why record stores were not just shops. They were meeting places, classrooms, and temples for people who loved music. The 1980s were the golden years of record store culture. Music was physical. It had weight. It had shape. You could hold it in your hands. Vinyl records came in large square covers with bold artwork. Cassette tapes fit in your pocket. Compact discs arrived in the middle of the decade and felt futuristic and shiny. But no matter the format, you had to go somewhere to buy it. That somewhere was the record store. From the outside, every store told you what kind of music lived inside. A mall chain store looked bright and clean. Big signs hung above the entrance. Inside shopping malls across America, names like Sam Goody, Musicland, Camelot Music, and Tower Records appeared again and again. These stores were easy to find. They were organized and safe. They carried all the big hits. The newest pop album. The latest rock band. The soundtracks everyone was talking about. Independent stores were different. They were often smaller and darker. Posters covered every inch of wall space. Handwritten signs pointed to sections. The staff behind the counter looked like they lived and breathed music. They knew the deep cuts, the imports, the bands you had never heard of. If you were serious about music, this was where you went. When you opened the door, the smell hit you first. Fresh vinyl had a scent that mixed plastic, cardboard, and ink. Cassettes smelled like smooth new tape in clear plastic cases. Later in the decade, compact discs added the sharp smell of new jewel cases. It was a scent you could not mistake. For many people, that smell meant excitement. The music was always playing. It was not background noise. It filled the space. The speakers were loud enough that you could feel the drums and guitars in your chest. Sometimes it was the newest release. Sometimes it was a staff favorite. You could discover a band just by walking in at the right moment. The sound created the mood. Albums were arranged alphabetically by artist. It sounds simple, but it took patience. You had to search. You had to look carefully. You had to know what you were looking for. Flipping through vinyl was almost peaceful. You would move slowly. You would pause when an album cover caught your eye. The artwork mattered. A bold image could make you pick up an album you had never heard before. You would turn it over and read the back. You would study the track list. You would look at the photos. Sometimes that was enough to convince you to take a chance. In the early 1980s, vinyl was still king. Large records filled most of the store. But cassettes were rising fast. They were smaller and easier to carry. You could play them in your car or on a portable Walkman. Cassette sections often hung on racks along the wall. The album art appeared in miniature on small inserts. Cassettes were practical, and they became very popular. Then came the compact disc. At first, it felt expensive and new. CDs cost more than vinyl or cassettes. Not everyone had a CD player yet, but once people heard the clear digital sound, many were convinced. No pops. No crackles. No rewinding. By the late 1980s, the CD section grew larger and larger. Record stores encouraged the change because CDs brought in higher profits. People even began replacing albums they already owned, buying their favorite records again on compact disc. One of the most important parts of the store was the listening station. Not every store had one, but when they did, it was special. You could take an album to the counter and ask to hear it. The clerk would place it in a player and hand you headphones. You would stand there, blocking out the noise of the store, listening carefully. Since you could not return open music, this mattered. You had to decide wisely. Those few minutes could determine what you spent your money on. The staff played a huge role in the experience. In independent stores, many workers were true music lovers. They could talk for hours about bands and albums. They knew release dates, producers, and even which pressings sounded better. They wrote small recommendation cards and placed them near albums. A card might say, If you like this band, try this one. Those handwritten notes felt personal. You trusted them. Chain stores had mixed staff. Some workers were passionate. Others were just working a job. But even there, music knowledge was valued. Conversations often happened near the counter. People debated which album was better. Customers recommended songs to each other. Strangers became friends through shared taste. The new release section was always exciting. New albums usually arrived on Tuesdays. Fans would come in just to see what was new. Big artists created buzz. When a major album dropped, the store felt electric. Sometimes stores opened at midnight for a huge release. People lined up outside, waiting to be among the first to buy it. Being the first mattered. It meant something. Imports were another treasure. Records and CDs from Europe or Japan sometimes included extra songs or different cover art. They cost more, but collectors loved them. The import section was smaller, often tucked away, but serious fans spent time there. Used bins were another adventure. People traded in albums they no longer wanted. The store offered credit or cash. The used section was unpredictable. You never knew what you might find. A rare album could appear one day and be gone the next. Digging through used bins felt like treasure hunting. There were also cutout bins. These were discounted albums that had not sold well. The covers often had a small hole punched in them or a corner cut off. They were cheaper, and sometimes you discovered hidden gems there. Taking a risk on a cheap album felt exciting. Singles had their own place. 7-inch vinyl records held one song on each side. Later, cassette singles and CD singles appeared. If you loved one hit song but did not want the full album, this was your choice. Near the counter, magazines were stacked. Rolling Stone, Musician, Guitar World. Before the internet, this was how you learned about new bands. You read interviews and reviews. You followed charts. Music journalism shaped taste, and the record store carried it. Merchandise grew through the decade. Band shirts hung on racks. Posters were rolled in bins. Buttons and patches sat near the register. Wearing a band shirt was a way to show who you were. Music was identity. Concert tickets were often sold at record stores too. Ticket outlets operated inside them. You went to the same place to buy an album and to get tickets for the show. The connection between recorded music and live music was direct. Blank cassette tapes filled another aisle. People made mixtapes for friends or for someone they cared about. Making a mixtape took time. You chose songs carefully. You pressed record at the right moment. The record store supplied the tools for that personal creativity. Accessories were everywhere. Headphones, cassette cases, record cleaning kits. The store supported every part of music ownership. The prices were steady. You knew roughly what you would pay. Vinyl was cheaper than CDs. CDs were the most expensive. For many teenagers, buying an album meant saving allowance money or part of a paycheck. That made, if you liked mainstream pop, they might judge you. Music snobbery was real. But even that became part of the culture. Strong opinions showed how much people cared. As the decade moved forward, change began. Big box stores like Best Buy and Walmart started selling CDs at lower prices. They could afford to sell them cheaply to attract customers. Independent stores struggled to compete. The shift had started. Still, through most of the 1980s, the record store remained essential. If you wanted music, you went there. You did not click a button. You made a trip. You spent time. You talked to people. You browsed slowly. Owning music felt different then. When you bought an album, you listened to it fully. You read the liner notes. You memorized lyrics. You studied the artwork. You played it again and again because you had invested in it. The album as a whole mattered, not just one song. The browsing created community. You might see someone holding an album you loved. You would start a conversation. You would recommend something else. The store was social space, not just retail space. In later years, digital music changed everything. File sharing, downloads, and streaming removed the need to visit a physical store. Many chains closed. Tower Records declared bankruptcy. Independent stores disappeared one by one. A few survived. Vinyl has returned in small ways. But the culture is different. What defined record stores in 1980s America was physical experience. Sound filled the air. Plastic and cardboard filled your hands. Conversations filled the space. Discovery happened slowly, through effort and chance. It was not instant. It required time. And because it required time, it created deeper memories. If you remember those days, you know the feeling. The smell of new vinyl. The excitement of finding a rare album. The sound of a song playing over the speakers and realizing you had just discovered something new. Record stores were not just about buying music. They were about belonging. And maybe that is why they still live in memory. Because they gave music a home. If this journey brought back memories or helped you understand what that world was like, share your own record store story in the comments. And if you enjoy exploring moments like this from the past, stay with us for more stories that bring those worlds back to life.